So, this is, I'm just trying to open up the free question and answer session this evening. So what I decided to talk about this evening while we're waiting for people to join is how to give our liver some good attention. Why liver? Because in Oriental medicine, the springtime, which we're very much in, is the time of the liver. So Oriental medicine looked, as well as at the physical functions of organs, also at kind of wider energetic functions. And one of their kind of basic understandings is that, of course, all of our organs are working through the 24-hour cycle and through the yearly cycle. But different organs are more active at certain times of the day or night, and also are more active at certain times of the year. So this is what I want to explain a little bit about. And this is based on an understanding of the 5 elements or 5 transformations. And this understanding is that in every cycle that happens in nature, there's a more yin half and a more yang half, half with more expansion and opening, and half with more closing and contracting. And then we can also look at 5 different phases. And so these were described as the 5 seasons of winter, spring, summer, late summer, Indian summer, and autumn. And then Oriental medicine works a lot with 5 different organ pairs. And so so each season there's an organ pair that is particularly active at that time. So in the Orient, they were looking more at the different qualities of energy in nature, in our bodies, in health. And so what they observed was in winter, in nature, energy is going deep, deep into plants, into animals, into the earth. Because it's cold, energy goes deep. So we have to think about which organ is that going to particularly help at that time. And it's particularly the kidneys and its partner, the bladder, because the kidneys are holding our deep energy in the body. They're our deep energy store, which I've talked about in a lot of other of these videos. So the winter time is a time when the kidney energy is particularly strengthened. Also, if there's an imbalance or a big weakness in the kidneys, we'll particularly feel that. We'll particularly tend to get symptoms during the winter time, which might be depression, feeling deeply cold, easily picking up infections, etc. Then in the spring, the energy starts to rise, the plants start sprouting, the insects, the birds, everything becomes more active. The energy is coming more up and outwards. So in Oriental medicine, they understand that this energy really helps the liver organ and its partner, the gallbladder. In Western science, we understand that the liver is processing the food that we eat, the nutrients, the glucose, sugars, amino acids, fats, vitamins, etc. And then it's distributing them around the body. And in Oriental medicine, they say a similar thing, that the liver helps distribute energy out around the body, into our muscles so that we can move. The liver energy creates movement in our emotional expression, creative expression, in our eye movements, etc. Then come the summer. This is the time when the energy is most outward. We want to be outside, we want to be in the sun, we want to be doing things, we want to be sociable, we want to sit in cafes outside, we don't want to be inside. Our whole energy is moving more outwards. And this energy particularly helps the heart, because the heart is moving energy outwards through the blood around the whole body, and it's partner the small intestine. Come the the kind of late summertime. This is a time when, August, September, in a kind of temperate seasonal climate in the northern hemisphere. This is when that kind of busyness and freneticness of the summer is dying down, the plants are beginning to die down, creating fruits and seeds. It's kind of harvest time, when all the energy of plants is going into their roots and seeds and squash and pumpkins, etc. And this kind of more downward, inward energy particularly nourishes the stomach, the spleen and pancreas, because these organs have the function of bringing nourishment into the body from our food and in other ways as well. So this is a time when these organs are particularly active. Then we move into the autumn time. It's getting colder, things are contracting, our bodies are contracting, and this is the energy that particularly nourishes the lungs and the large intestine, because functionally the lungs are not only bringing in oxygen, which is quite a feat, it's also bringing in the qi or qi from the air, which is very thin. It's not like eating food, which is very dense qi. So it's easy to get energy, it's easy to get that into the body and get qi from it. And the air contains qi, so when we breathe deeply, if we spend 5 minutes breathing deeply, we feel more energy in our body, because this is also a source of qi or qi. So this is a difficult thing to do, to bring this very diffuse qi into the body, and this is what the lungs do. So the lungs need this really contracting energy. Same with the large intestine. When our food arrives, or what we've eaten, the contents of our guts, of our small intestine arrives in the large intestine, it's actually liquid. And the body doesn't want to lose that liquid because it would easily dehydrate, and it doesn't want to lose some of the nutrients in that liquid either. So that liquid, the large intestine does this miracle of producing stools. Thank goodness for the large intestine. I really appreciate what our large intestines do for us. So instead of just having watery diarrhea, we have stools once or twice a day, hopefully. So also it needs this contracting energy. So the autumn really is the time when the lung and the large intestine are most active. Also the evening time. Kidneys night time, liver, gallbladder also morning time. Heart, small intestine more around midday, stomach, spleen, pancreas afternoon. So one of the great uses for this theory is understanding why you may get strong symptoms at a particular time of day or time of the year. So getting a lot of symptoms, so in the afternoon, say, feeling very drowsy, feeling very weak, feeling very tired, indicates that a person has an imbalance in their stomach, spleen, pancreas energy. And as I said, if people get a lot of symptoms in the night, sweating, sleeplessness, needing to pee a lot, aches and pains, etc., then almost certainly this is coming from an imbalance in kidney and bladder. So here we are in the springtime. So this is the time of the liver. And the liver wants to move energy outwards. During the autumn and the winter, the energy has been coming inwards, and it's very easy for the body to become congested. We may overeat certain things, rich foods, and so on. We may hold on to emotions. We may stay inside and move less, and so we get congestion and maybe accumulation happening in the body. So the springtime is where we want to reverse that. We want to help the liver energy to move and to physically cleanse, and also for our energy to move outwards, so that we get a physical, energetic, emotional, mental, even spiritual cleansing. So I want to talk a few minutes about how to do this. So different things on different levels. We need to move, especially outside. Great time to get outside. Probably one of the worst times for the coronavirus to hit in the springtime. Now everybody's just dying to get out, whether it's shopping or parks or coast or whatever, because this is what our livers want us to do at this time. It's what nature wants us to do. So we need to be outside, we need to be moving, so that our energy can be moving outwards. Dancing is also great. Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, any kind of exercise regime as well helps move the liver energy. And then, as far as our diet goes, this is a time when it's good to be eating more lightly. In the autumn and the winter, we maybe want to eat some heavier foods. We want to eat some more long-cooked grain dishes, bean dishes, bread, stews, that kind of food, because it's more warming. It brings energy into the body and is more warming. But probably intuitively, you don't feel like eating so many of those foods right now. You want to eat more light food, and there's more salad, there's more lettuce and salad type vegetables around there. So we want shorter cooked food, less salt, more vegetables, more salad vegetables, more light food, so that our energy can move outwards. And this is a time. This is a good time for the body to discharge. Sometimes the body needs to discharge excess through spots or through fever, and sometimes we may get a fever or some mucus, maybe because of an infection, or maybe just because the body's discharging and there's no infection there, there's no bacteria or virus, just our body needs to move stuff outwards. So this is a healthy thing. It's healthy. It's a healthy adjustment when our body wants to create some mucus. It's a way of discharging excess inside the body. Even if we do get an infection, a cold or a virus, which in some ways may be undesirable, if we don't become seriously ill but have more of a mild illness, still this can be useful. We might have a fever, we might create mucus, we might sweat. All of these are good ways for the body to clean out. So we don't want to suppress this. If you have a mild fever, sweats, and mucus, you don't want to suppress this and try and get rid of it as a problem at this time of year. We want it to come out. So much better to help it come out. If you have a fever, then put a cold wet towel around your head or around your neck, or just bathe your body in cool water, or have a tepid bath. The same with a child. You can take the temperature. If an adult or a child's temperature goes too high, if it's getting to 40 degrees, you really need to bring it down. But first thing to try is bring it down naturally. A cool bath, cold wet towels, etc. And the good thing about things like cold wet towels is it draws the heat out. It's not suppressing the heat and pushing it back inside. It's drawing the heat and the excess out, which is what we want. So you may have experienced after having a cold or a virus, or just having a lot of mucus, that you feel clearer and cleaner and more lively afterwards, because you've had this cleansing process. So we need to eat more lightly, and also less animal food and less salt. Eating a little salt is fine. It gives us more strength. Some people choose to be vegan. It can also be healthy, just from a health point of view, to eat small amounts of animal foods. In macrobiotics, we tend to say fish or shellfish, because it's the least fatty and the lightest and easiest to digest, the least likely to cause accumulation in the body, which can lead on to stones and cysts and tumours and growths and enlarged prostate or ovarian cysts and all of that kind of thing. So we may need a bit more of those foods in the winter time, because animals contain more qi than plants in some ways. But in the springtime, we may want to eat much less of those. So again, instead of our energy coming in, our energy is able to open outwards. And if we've eaten a little bit too much fats or butter or dairy foods in the winter, especially if you're eating dairy foods. Dairy foods are sticky and they stick in the body. And this would be, if you regularly eat dairy foods, this would be a really good time for stopping eating dairy foods. So have a month off eating dairy foods. Find some good plant alternatives. Eat hummus. You can put tahini on bread. Use other sources of vegetable protein. Use lentils and beans and hummus and tofu and tempeh and things like that, so your body can have a good discharge. Just as an aside, when I got into macrobiotics back in 1980, I got interested in the summer, and then I really went at it very thoroughly, maybe a little bit too thoroughly, but very thoroughly. And that autumn, I just poured out mucus for, I remember I had, for about 3 weeks, no infection, just 3 weeks, just tons of mucus, and it just kind of dried up for a little bit, and I thought, great. And then it started again. As it gets colder in the autumn, our body contracts and it squeezes out excess. So this happened 3 times. I was eating a lot of cheese. I'd become vegetarian, but I was eating a lot of cheese. That was my main protein. Beans, lentils, tofu, things made from beans generally are a much better source of protein than cheese. So yeah, please, if you're eating dairy foods, give your liver a break. If you want to take that a step further, then eat very simply. Eat some grains, some beans, some vegetables. Eat very little vegetable oil. Maybe just 1 or 2 teaspoonfuls a day to fry things. Have soups, vegetable soups, lentil soups, etc. And then just to have a moderate amount of more vegetable protein rather than eating much animal protein. If you really feel you need it, then have white fish rather than oily fish. Eat mostly whole grains. Avoid too many flour products, which can create mucus in the body. Avoid too much bread, pastries, cakes, biscuits, all of those kind of things. Make yourself some nice fruit desserts. We're getting strawberries, raspberries, berries are coming out now. So make yourself some fruit salad, or make yourself some crumbles. Lots of rhubarb around. Make yourself some apple and rhubarb crumble, etc., or stewed fruit, etc. We want light desserts at this time, not heavy baked flour desserts with a lot of oil and sweetener and flour in, which are very yummy, but if we overdo them, again, it can congest the liver. So just eating light plant foods can be very helpful. Then a few drinks that we could use as well. We want foods or things, ingredients which take our energy outwards. So very nice for the liver. The liver's most active in the morning. Very nice for the liver is to start off the day with a hot lemon and ginger drink. So you just squeeze a quarter or a half a lemon into a mug, a few thin slices of root ginger, pour on boiling water, let it sit for a few minutes, and then drink that. Very nice drink, helps bring our energy outwards. You can also have that again during the day if you want to. Also, using small amounts of sour foods is stimulating the liver. It stimulates the liver to be more active and to discharge. So that might be squeezing lemon juice on things. It might be making dressings using vinegar. It might be eating sauerkraut, gherkins, and other vegetable pickles. So those are some foods, some drinks, some movement. And then also emotionally, the liver is really in charge of our emotions to a larger extent. So my cat's just come in, all very hungry, been outside all day. So his earth energy, his stomach spleen is needing nourishing, and he's going to have to wait a little bit for that. So the liver, because it's expressing our energy outwards, has a big effect in expressing our emotions outwards. If we're holding on to frustrations, angers, tears, sadness, whatever the emotions are, then that also congests the liver. It makes it more difficult for it to cleanse the body. So also a really good time for looking into ourselves and feeling, what am I hanging on to emotionally? what is there that could come out at this time? And have an emotional cleanse. Whether you find you can just sit with your emotions, write them down, tell a good friend, go for a walk, let them out, shout, cry, scream, whatever is helpful in getting those emotions out is going to really help the liver as well. Also a good time to be creative. The liver is also the creative energy. To think, plan, what do you want to be doing this summer, the rest of this year. Get into that more, that more creative mood, which again helps our liver energy to flow. And what do you want to leave behind? What is no longer serving you in your life? What is keeping you stuck? If you feel stuck in your life, then your liver energy will be stuck. If your liver energy is stuck, that will tend to make you stuck in your life. It works both ways. So, good time for considering what is holding me back? What is creating stuckness in my life right now? What do I want to let go of right now in my life for the rest of this year, or for the rest of my life? Okay, so those are some ways of really helping your liver. If our liver gets stuck, I just want to mention, if our liver gets stuck, then that creates congestion, it creates accumulation in the body, then we may get more tension in the body, more headaches, also accumulations, gallstones, fibroids, cysts, breast cysts, ovarian cysts, enlarged prostate, etc., etc. We don't want those kind of accumulations in the body, so we want to help the liver to cleanse, and this is the best time of year for cleansing. Much easier than in the autumn or winter time, because then the energy is going inwards, and we're needing more warming foods and foods which bring energy more inwards. So this is the best time of year to have a cleanse. Also, just one last thing before I get into any questions you have. You might want to do a little fasting, different ways of fasting to help the liver. The simplest thing, or perhaps the most important thing, is not to eat for 3 hours before you go to bed, and have a light evening meal if that's possible. If it's possible to eat more at lunchtime, or breakfast and lunch, and have a lighter evening meal. Because if we eat an hour or two before we go to bed, that food is in the intestine, the liver is working all night. Because we're not using that energy, then the liver accumulates, it makes fat, storing that in the body. So have a light supper early in the evening, 6-7 o'clock. Have a little fruit later on, or something light if you're hungry. And then you have a fast through that evening till the next morning. If you feel you really need breakfast, then have breakfast, but if you don't need breakfast, then you could skip breakfast and wait till lunch. If you get screamingly hungry, then perhaps your body, that isn't so good for your body. Don't force it on yourself. Have a light breakfast. But if you can skip breakfast and go through till lunchtime, particularly if you move the body, do some exercise, whether that's housework or yoga or walking or going shopping or whatever it is, or starting your work to help your liver energy to move, you may find that gives you energy, and then you're not needing energy from food so much. So, and then if you did skip breakfast, then you'd be fasting from maybe 6 in the evening to maybe 12 or 1 the next day. So that will really help the liver. When we stop putting stuff into the liver, then it can start getting rid of the excess that it's holding. So I hope you find that useful to consider how to help your liver at this spring time of year. So now I'm going to get into looking at your questions. So hi Pema, hi Kate, nice to have you. Rainy Moniave, yes, I heard it was raining hard up here in Cornwall, and then here we escaped it. Hello Amal and Jennifer. So Jennifer, you're asking about travelling on public transport. Is it healthy wearing a mask for 40 minutes? I have one using breathable organic cotton. Um, um, I think it's okay. I think it's okay wearing a mask. I think one thing that is good is when you've finished your travels, and there's the possibility that there may be virus trapped in it, you want to hang it up in the sun, or wash it or disinfect it or something like that before you use it again. What the scientists are saying is that actually it's not so much for our protection, it's more to stop us possibly spreading droplets with virus into other people, and we may have the virus but no symptoms. Apparently 7 out of 10 people that get the coronavirus or the COVID-19 virus get no symptoms at all. So you may have it and not be aware of it, and that will, wearing a mask will help stop you spreading it. So yeah, I think that's quite healthy. Hi Kun, nice to have you here. My thoughts about an alkaline diet. Which vegan cheese I recommend? Is canola oil okay? And what causes fatty liver? So that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot of questions. Quite a lot of questions. So alkaline diet. Yes, I think it's useful to think of foods in terms of acid and alkaline. I don't think we have to go overboard and make sure that every single item of food we eat is alkaline forming. I think we need a balance in order to. We're eating mostly alkaline forming foods. The easiest way to do that is not to eat much in the way of animal protein. Keep our animal protein low, because protein breaks down to create acid. It's made out of amino acids. So when we concentrated protein, that creates acid in the body. Some beans do mildly as well, but we can balance that out. Vegetables are very alkalizing. The most alkalizing food at all, if you're really keen on alkalizing yourself, fruit and vegetables. So some people say eat lots of fruit. Better than that is sea vegetables. Sea vegetables contain a lot of minerals and are highly alkalizing. And so one of the most alkalizing dishes you can make is a broth soup, like a traditional in the Orient, a miso soup or a shoyu broth, or you could just make a broth soup with some herb salt or some salt, and you're putting in, traditional Oriental soup. You're putting in some sea vegetables, which are about the most alkalizing food that there is. You're cooking some vegetables which are alkalizing, and then you're putting in some salt, and salt and minerals are highly alkalizing as well. So a broth soup is highly alkalizing. So if you want to alkalize yourself, have a miso soup, a shoyu broth, or a herb salt, or some kind of broth soup every day. Grains, a few like millet are slightly alkaline forming, some like brown rice are slightly acid forming. So that leads some people to say you shouldn't eat brown rice. I would say that how you cook foods also makes a big difference. So traditional way of cooking grains is you add a bit of salt to it. And in macrobiotics, we also make slightly salty condiments, things like sesame salt or gomazio or seaweed powder or tekka, or we use a bit of umeboshi. And again, these are high in minerals and highly alkalizing. So, and some people say as well that if we chew our food well and we produce a lot of saliva, which is alkaline, that also will really help to alkalize grains and other slightly acid-forming foods. So we can eat some grains, beans, because of their high protein content. Also cook them with a sea vegetable. So just throw a piece of kelp in with it. You don't have to eat the kelp at the end. You can if you like it. And then season it with some salt or shoyu soy sauce or tamari or something like that. And all of that helps make it more alkaline, or cook it with a vegetable, some carrots or something, and make it like a bean and vegetable stew to balance it out. So plant-based, quite easy to make our diet alkaline by eating a plant-based diet. Sea vegetables are very useful, and with a good amount of minerals as well. So that's that bit of the question. Which vegan cheese do I recommend? I'm not sure if I'd recommend any vegan cheese, I'm afraid, Amal. Maybe like an occasional treat, but not on a regular basis. I think they're less, thinking about the liver, they're less fatty than cheese made from an animal milk, cows or goats or whatever. But to make them, they're using a lot of oil, whether it's canola oil or coconut oil or something like that. So it's still a rather fatty, greasy food. So not great for the liver. A better source of oil is eating seeds on a very regular basis, even every day, using some good quality vegetable oils such as sunflower, sesame, olive oil, etc. And what causes fatty liver? Basically eating too much fat, and then the liver, we don't use it all up, so the liver creates fat from it around the body, but also the liver can get overwhelmed and start creating fatty streaks in the liver. Too much sugar, if we eat a lot of sugar, that gets converted into fat, and too much alcohol also gets converted into fat. This is what the liver does, it converts different foods into each other. So too much of any of those foods can create fatty liver. But also moderately easy to reverse that process. So I hope that helps you, Amal. And Amanda, good to have you here. Does the boiling water not cause lemon to lose the vitamin C? It probably does reduce it a bit. However, the reason for having it hot in this case rather than cold is if we eat something cold, it can make the body contract a bit. If we have a hot drink, this is why a hot drink can give the feeling of lifting us. It brings our energy up and out. So this is why hot tea or something else hot, hot apple juice, hot punch, brings our energy up and outwards. So yeah, you're going to be reducing the vitamin C, but eat a good amount of greens and maybe some fruit elsewhere in the day, to get your vitamin C. So Stefan Postol, hi. Good to have you here. And Marina, nice to have you here again. Nice to make contact again. When you change your diet for the better, can this initially exacerbate the mucus problem, healing crisis, etc.? Yes, definitely it can do. So earlier on, I was describing my experience of when I moved from a vegetarian diet, and I used to buy a block of cheese, kind of this big, every week. That was my staple: cheese on toast, cheese sandwiches, cauliflower cheese. I was a real kind of cheese addict. Cheap, and I was vegetarian, so that was my main source of protein. Started eating a dairy-free, plant-based diet in the summer, and then that whole autumn I was producing vast amounts of mucus. And it's many people experience that when they really clean up their diet, that certain things can happen. Some people may get headaches temporarily for a few days or a week or two. Some people may get a lot of mucus. Some people may actually get spots or boils when they stop eating the kind of fatty, greasy, sugary foods which contribute to those, which can be a bit alarming. Some people's bowel movements may fluctuate. Some women's menstruation may stop. They may just drop out of one period because the body is just reorganizing itself. Some people will feel very tired for a period of time. Yeah, so a whole range of different things can happen. So if you're helping other people, it's important to recognize these signs and be able to explain to people, because if you're giving them a treatment or you've advised them to make improvements in their health, food, etc., and these things happen, a lot of people will think, oh, I'm more ill. Western medicine doesn't really recognize that the body needs to discharge. Nearly every I was going to say traditional medicine, Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, naturopathy, homeopathy, they all recognize that the body needs to discharge sometimes, and that when it is, we want to encourage it. We want to encourage the mucus to come out, the fever to come out, the smell to come out of our skin, or whatever it is, because it's helping the body cleanse inside. So if you're helping other people, you have to reassure people that this is okay and it's temporary. If it goes on a long time, it's a chronic problem, then there's some imbalance going on in the body. It's not just a healing crisis. If it goes on for months, then there's something else happening and one needs to figure that out or get some help. How long does it take on average for all the mucus to clear? Depends. It depends a lot on how much you've got and how hard you go at cleansing. You may stop producing mucus from the lungs and nose, after a few weeks or a few months. But in Chinese medicine, they have different words for mucus. Phlegm, which can be in any part of the body. It can be in the intestines, the breasts, the reproductive organs, the liver, etc. Or under the skin, creating the idea is that this mucus, it can create extra body weight when it's under the skin, and it can also solidify to form lumps, breast lumps, under the skin lumps, cysts, breast cysts, ovarian cysts, enlarged prostate, fibroids, all of these kind of things. So if there's that really deep mucus, you could say, in the body, then that could take months or years, a few years to get out. I think anyone who's eaten a typical Western diet with a fair amount of dairy foods, meat and animal foods, and also quite a lot of processed foods, cakes and biscuits and so on, then it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get most of it out, and I think we can go on discharging sometime after that. So cakes, they don't seem particularly fatty. They seem quite light and yummy. I don't make a lot of cakes, but some years ago, when I was spending a lot of time with my mother towards the end of her life, I thought I'd start making her some cakes, and I was shocked. This is like a healthy cake: 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of oil, 1 cup of rice syrup. That is, when you eat a piece of cake, you don't realize a quarter of that is oil, and maybe a quarter of it is sweetener as well. So that's going to create a lot of, plus refined flour. If you're using refined flour, that's going to create a lot of mucus in the body. Pema, should we reduce meso as it's liver time? So yes, in the spring we need to reduce our salt use overall. Salt tends to have a warming effect on the body, so it's good to use a bit more in the winter to give us more heat and energy. So in the spring, we need to reduce our miso, our shoyu, our sea salt, any form of salt we need to reduce. Talking about the liver and discharging, I've seen a number of people wanting to discharge. Maybe they're carrying extra body weight, and when the liver is congested, it can be difficult to lose that extra body weight. Often you have to really help your liver to unwind first. And I've seen people who cut out the dairy foods and they cut out a lot of the kind of unhealthy foods. They're eating quite a clean diet, but they go on eating quite a bit of salt, and just eating a lot of salt tends to lock things into the body. So if you feel like you've eaten a lot of salt, so I don't think this is true for you, Pema, but I think, you know, if some people feel that you've really eaten a lot of salt, it could be very good as part of your cleanse to eat no salt for a month or two, and you might find that you discharge more actively. And then Marina, you're asking the view on fasting 1 day a week in the summer. You've tried it and you couldn't do it. It makes you feel even more tired. So I would say then that kind of fast is not good for you. Fasting, you know, there's all different degrees of fasting, as I was describing earlier. Just eating a simple plant-based diet is pretty much like you're fasting 365 days of the year. If you're not eating dairy foods, you're not eating a lot of fatty, oily cakes and biscuits and animal food, etc. And you're eating whole grains and beans and vegetables and sea vegetables and soups and fruit and things like that, seeds. You know, that's like almost like a mild fast. And then you can take it a bit further, as I described, eating less in the evening, having a nice fast overnight. Maybe just having like a small breakfast, not when you first get up, but a little bit later, you know, like maybe 9, 10 o'clock. And, you know, this is all like a mild fast. And if people are really depleted in their body, then actually fasting can be the wrong thing to do. Some people need more nourishment, you know, of course, healthy nourishment. Not cheese on toast nourishment or bacon sandwich nourishment, but, you know, nice rich bean stew, nice whole grains, nice baked vegetables, etc. You know, healthy nourishment. So it may be, Marina, that your energy was low, and then, yeah, if fasting just makes you feel tired, then it's not what your body needs right now. So we have to really feel what's good for us, not get too stuck in our head about, oh, I want to do this, or this is good for me, or someone says this is good for me. Okay, well, think about it and try it. But if it's not good for you, if it's not making you feel good, then don't do it. Yeah. So Christine, can you get rid of liver cysts? I've only seen a very few people with liver cysts, and I have known people to reduce them. It takes time, though. The thing about the liver is it's one of the body's main cleansers. So if you start cleansing, you know, often what happens is we cleanse from the outside in. You know, our skin starts cleansing. We maybe start losing a bit of body fat from underneath our skin. You know, and gradually it goes deeper and deeper. And then the last thing that can really clear is the liver. So to really have a positive effect, you know, on the liver, you have to really persist with really quite a clean way of eating, you could say. You know, with enough nourishment in for all of the body, but really persist with, you know, 6 months, you know, maybe longer, to maybe a year, maybe 18 months or something like that. And Christine, you're also asking about a castor oil with a hot pack to help reduce the size of cysts. So a castor oil pack is one traditional way of helping the liver to discharge. Another way of doing it is to actually to heat up the castor oil and you know, dip a little tea towel or something in it, and then put it on your body. So I think it might help. But you need to be doing the other things which I've described as well. You need to be definitely paying attention to your diet. you need some movement, and maybe giving your emotional expression attention as well. Because if we're holding on to a lot of emotions in our liver, then it means, energetically the liver is holding on, and then physically the liver will hold on, and it'll kind of get in the way of cleansing the liver. Yep, and Alex, milk thistle, yep, I think can be good. Fennel tea, peppermint, lemon verbena tea, I understand are good. Yep, I think they're all good. Milk thistle usually delivers a tincture in alcohol, so that's one way. I'm sorry, I can't quite remember. I'm sure there's a way that one can have it as as a tea or drops or something like that. I don't know if anybody knows. Then if you do, then say, and then we can share it. So all of these things can help a bit, but don't think that they're going to do a lot on their own. We need to do the big things. We need a cleaner diet. We need to be moving our body. Ideally, every day, half an hour, an hour's brisk walk, yoga, exercise, gardening. Really active energy really helps move ki from the liver and for it to cleanse. And we really need to pay attention to, are we holding on to a lot of old angers, resentments, frustrations, upsets, pain, other strong emotions in our liver? Because if I really see in myself and many clients that if we're holding on to a lot of emotion, it really keeps the liver blocked. So for me, those are the basics, and then we can do things like hot lemon and ginger, milk thistle, fennel tea, etc., to have that some additional effect. Is it okay to add a bit of cider vinegar when making pickled vegetables? Yes, it is. Yep. And the sour taste, as I said, using some sour taste every day also helps the liver to stimulates the liver to discharge. So traditionally made pickles are good, sauerkraut, vegetable pickles, homemade pickles, etc. And most of those are made with just salt, and then you get a lactic fermentation by lactobacilli, which make lactic acid, and that, a moderate amount of that is stimulating for the liver. And Amal, what to do when we are stuck? And is it okay to eat whole wheat twice per day? So I wonder what you mean by when we're stuck. I think if we're stuck, then we need to kind of feel, why are we stuck? Are we eating too many heavy, sticking foods? If people, this is a tendency. This is not a like a rule. But if people are eating a lot of heavy animal foods, cheese, bread, etc., they tend to block the liver, and then their thinking and emotionally they tend to be more stuck. I'm not saying they will be, because it depends on a lot of other things as well. So it may be that. It may be that we're emotionally stuck. We're hanging on to old emotions that need to come out. It may be that we got stuck in our life. We need to make some changes in our life. And we're just going on doing what we normally do, and actually it's time we made a change in our life, changed our work, what we're doing, our habits, etc. So see if you can feel out which area of life the stuckness is in. And if you change the stuckness in one area of your life, probably it will help to start changing the stuckness in other areas of your life. Is it okay to eat whole wheat twice per day? So yes, I think it is. Wheat is, I think, is a healthy food. You might want to use a traditional wheat like spelt. As long as you don't have a gluten intolerance or allergy, then I think it's fine to eat wheat. Yeah, traditional grain. It's had a lot of bad press because a lot of people are gluten intolerant. But if you're not gluten intolerant, then I think it's fine to eat wheat regularly. And Sherry, how about achy teeth or toothache? Well, with a toothache, there may be some decay or something like that going on, but achy teeth in general, in Oriental medicine, the bones and the teeth particularly receive chi from the kidneys. So if our kidney energy gets depleted, then we can start having just more teeth problems in general. I think even more filling, more decay, but also aching in the teeth. Where they're just make sure it's the teeth and not the gums, because the gums are ruled or nourished more by the spleen in Oriental medicine. But if it's the actual teeth, then it suggests that your kidney keys become low, or a person's kidney keys become low. And the same with becoming kind of temperature sensitive to hot and cold liquids, or to cold air and so on. Suggests that your kidney energies become low, and there's not enough ki in your teeth. You may feel, there's not a lot of ki in your teeth, and then of course, when there's not enough ki anywhere in the body, often it starts aching. If there's not enough ki in our muscles can start aching. For example. So that would be the first place that I would look, Sherry, to see what's happening with the kidney energy. I wonder if you kind of understand what that means in Oriental medicine. So I'll maybe say just a little bit more about that, in case you don't. The kidney energy in Oriental medicine, producing urine, controlling the water balance in the body, but also is the deep store of energy in the body. And if our kidney energy is strong, then we tend to feel deeply warm in the body. We have a good amount of energy, good motivation, good thinking power, because the kidney energy also nourishes the brain and the nervous system. Strong teeth, strong bones. And if the kidney energy gets low, then often we feel deeply cold in the body, like cold in our bones, tired, exhausted, easily get body aches, joint aches, lose our motivation, feel more nervous, more fearful, easily overwhelmed. We may start peeing a lot, getting symptoms in the night, needing to pee a lot in the night, finding it difficult to sleep, etc. So there's some signs of weak kidney energy. If we're under a lot of stress, or overworking, or taking a lot of stimulants, a lot of tea, coffee, recreational drugs, sugar, etc., those things that can use up our kidney energy fast and can weaken the kidney energy. So I hope that helps. And Marina, view on liver cleanse using olive oil lemon drink method. It's a lot of fat to drink. Personally, I've never recommended it, because I think it's what you do every day for the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, that really makes by far the biggest difference. I think this remedy kind of comes out of people wanting, a quick, sharp shock. They want something to happen fast, and it's quite a shock for the body. So I think it's much better to take a slightly slower, but in the end a kind of more deeply effective approach. I have also heard of a few people who the oil and the lemon both stimulate the liver and the gallbladder strongly. And then what can happen is the gallbladder contracts, and then you get a stone coming down down the bile duct, which can be very painful, but obviously good to get rid of it. But they can get stuck, and that can cause, I've heard of a couple of people who after oil and lemon or vinegar liver cleanse have had to be rushed into hospital with a stone that gets stuck at a certain point where it just reaches the pancreas. They sometimes get stuck there, and having to have, I can't remember what they had, whether it was surgery or some kind of emergency treatment. So for me, it feels like an extreme thing to do to the body. Yeah. And then Amal, you're saying per week. Is that about the wheat? I'm not quite sure what you're saying. I mean a whole wheat flour twice per week. Yeah, that sounds about okay. We don't want to consume a lot of flour products. Generally, we want to eat more whole grains, whole wheat, spelt, rice, quinoa, millet, etc. Just a little bit of flour, but yeah, having some wheat flour twice a week depends a little bit on what you're doing with that flour. If you're combining it with a lot of fat or sweetener or something, it may not be so good. And Alex, aching in the muscles, would this be more to do with the liver? Cramps, I understand, are more to do with magnesium deficiency, minerals perhaps, and kidney energy. So I think aching in the muscles can have a few different causes. If it's a lot of tension in the muscles, it definitely is coming from tension in the liver. Cramps, when a muscle cramps, it depends which part of the body you're having the cramp in. So if it's a cramp in your calf or the sole of your foot, that's where the kidney and bladder meridians run. And energetically, generally there's low energy in the kidney and bladder. The reason we get a cramp is, or where we get a cramp is where a muscle doesn't have enough ki in to do whatever we're asking it to do, and then it just goes into a spasm, like a very strong contraction. So one thing is, it happens where the energy is low. So I see a lot of people with frozen shoulders, where a frozen shoulder is generally not in the joint but in these muscles here, and when people raise their arm to a certain point, the muscle goes into spasm and they get a sharp pain. And what I always find is that the meridians running through here are really low in energy, usually the lung and the large intestine, sometimes a little bit in the triple heater or small intestine as well. So for me, over giving years of shiatsu, where people get cramps, always the ki is low. So I think it can have just a low ki cause. Same in the lower back. If the ki in the back muscles is very low, and then we're asking it to do work, then the body kind of knows it's very important to keep the spine straight. The muscles go like this because they know they have to stop the spine distorting, and they'll go into a cramp. So I think it depends which part of the body. So lower back, very much governed by kidney and bladder. So people often get cramps here when the kidney bladder energy is low. If it's soles of feet and calves, then again kidney bladder. But if it's up here, other parts of the body, it could be other meridians. If it's kidney and bladder, so an old remedy that I remember when I was young, if people were playing tennis and people got a cramp, they would say dissolve a teaspoonful of salt in some water and drink it. And because you're lacking minerals, possibly in some cases, but I think the reason that remedy works is for a different reason. That if you eat a lot of salt, it gives a quick blast of energy to the kidney and bladder. So it may well be just that you're bringing more energy into the kidney and bladder meridians. So it may be working that way. So I'm a little cautious around the, I think in some cases it may well be a lack of minerals in the diet, but I don't think that's always the case. If one is lacking minerals, then one needs to ask why. Particularly is one either not eating enough minerals, from salt, sea vegetables, whole foods, whole grains, greens, etc., or is one consuming too many foods which deplete the body of minerals, like a lot of tea, coffee, alcohol, fruit juices, soft drinks, etc. So I hope that helps, Alex. Giesbert. I only see this now. I've missed the first 50 minutes. Will this video be available later? Yes, it will. So when we finish, it will take Facebook, I don't know, half an hour or an hour to put it up on this page, and then you can listen to the whole thing. We are also slowly putting these onto our International Macrobiotics School YouTube page. So please take a look at International Macrobiotics School YouTube channel, where we're increasing the number of videos up there. And there may well be something just one side of this video where you can sign up to our mailing list and also go to that Facebook page. So both of those are ways of regularly hearing about what we're up to. And if you don't know, Giesberg, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, then at the moment I've been through this lockdown, I've been giving these free sessions every Tuesday night, at the moment at 8:40, so do come along on future evenings. Christelle, good to hear from you. If the hard core of the body is too yang, it's mostly liver cause. So if you want to make it softer, is to focus on all items you mentioned, diet, movement, lifestyle, but focus especially on cooking for liver. Or are other elements such as water, cooking good to enhance and move the energy? So you've studied a bit of Oriental medicine. So I think if you're saying that the core of the body is too yang, for me that is when there's a lot of deep tension in the body, and also a lot of deep stagnation, and then there could well be accumulation of fats, protein, etc. as well. So I think yes, practically always the liver is too tense and congested, and I think a liver, everything we've described to help the liver would be extremely useful and the right way to go. If you're familiar with the 5 transformations or 5 elements, then the element which you want the least of is the metal element, because that's the very contracting element. So very meat, cheese, eggs, too many grains, too much long cooked food, too much dry food, too much hard dry food like bread, crackers, salty foods, etc. Can create that hardness in the body. So we want the least amount of metal foods, a bit of water, a lot of tree, some fire, and a bit of earth is okay as well. And so I hope that makes sense to you. Alex, you found that helpful, that's great. Jennifer, you found that useful, and Marina's saying thank you. Okay, so we've been going just over an hour, so I don't know if you have any last questions on anything we've been talking about. If you have, then quickly type it in. Otherwise, we'll finish quite soon. Now, just while we're waiting, I'll just say, if you find these videos useful, I'll be back next Tuesday, 8:40, and do check out our online courses. Some of them are mostly finishing off up until July, and then we'll be starting a new range in the autumn. One I really want to do is one on the 5 elements or 5 transformations. I'm going to do quite a long, in-depth online course on that because it's just so revealing for our health and what's happening emotionally and etc. And if you want to get news on all these things, then do join our mailing list, or like this this page, because we regularly post things on this page on upcoming courses, etc. Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming, so I really thank you for coming along tonight, and thank you for your questions, and thank you. It's just great when you come with a lot of questions, and then it makes it really interesting for everybody, and we all learn a lot. So yeah, thank you for coming, and I wish you good health and long life, and lots of fun in your life, and yeah, hope to have you here again, or maybe see you in class. Okay, good night.